Good morning, everyone. I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN Live studio. We're about to bring you a press conference virtually, of course, from the city of Austin, talking about some new city offices getting to reopen and how the services will be modified despite the coronavirus pandemic not being far from over. Let's take a listen as the city manager, Spencer Cronk, kicks things off with this press conference.
Good morning. As you know, since mid-March, thousands of city employees have been working to make sure essential city services did not skip a beat during this pandemic. And I want to start by thanking them for their incredible service. While we've had to adjust and modify certain city departments to ensure our staff and public safety, we want our community to know that we are working on plans to make sure that we continue to provide the highest level of public service. As the state reopens, the city is evaluating how to reintegrate employees back into the workforce. Today, I've asked our Deputy City Manager, Nuria Rivera Vandermeij, to share how we will be accomplishing this effort safely. In regards to city services, I know it's summer in Austin and people want to go out and enjoy Barton Springs and everything great that the city has to offer. And a few departments will resume certain services with modified operations starting next week. Even as these city services resume, I am asking all Austinites to help protect our employees and each other. In particular, essential workers, construction workers, grocery store employees, delivery drivers, please do your best to stay safe while you work. Practice social distancing and good hygiene, and wear a face covering. Austin has done a great job over the past few months, and I'm confident that we will help keep each other safe and healthy. And with that, I'll pass it over to Nuria.
Thank you, Manager. I appreciate that and echo your words to continue being safe. Under current stay-home work orders, the city department staff continue to providing critical and essential community services, and so proud of how our staff has really continued to help the community that they serve so well. But as you mentioned, the state begins to reopen, and we have begun to think about how do we develop and implement a reintegration plan into the city. We are fortunate that the city's Human Resources Department, in collaboration with our public health entities and our local health authorities, and many of the departments who are being thoughtful about reintegration, have come together to develop and guide a plan for all city departments. We will begin communicating that and reintegrating employees as soon as we are able to provide services. And that will begin as early, and you'll hear from some of the departments here, as early as June 1st. Importantly, though, the safety of our employees and the community that we serve is always in our minds. And so we will be evaluating our plans every 28 days with the data and the work environments and the advice and consultation of our public health authorities. So just as we will be looking at that, if our departments and our public health authorities tell us that we need to change or shift or adjust our plans prior to that 28 days, we will certainly be taking that advice and adjusting accordingly. So as our community transitions into this new normal that we have all gotten used to, we're carefully planning that safe return. We're remaining vigilant and flexible. We're allowing and encouraging our employees who are able to continue to stay at work and telework to do so, and continuing to bring on services for the benefit of the public that we serve. And with that, I'll pass it on to Kimberly, who can tell you a little bit more about what Parks is doing and their reintegration plans.
McNeely, and I serve as your Parks and Kimberly McNeely, and I serve as your Parks and Recreation Director. I'm aware, very much so, of how valuable the Parks and Recreation Department is to many of our community members and how it plays a vital role in physical health and mental health and in spiritual health. And so the Parks and Recreation Department has worked very hard to make sure that certain amenities remained available throughout COVID-19. And we're now in a position to make additional amenities available to the public. We'll be doing that in very small incremental steps. We'll be making sure that we, in every way possible, are monitoring the local characteristics of what's happening with this COVID virus. We're going to be monitoring how our social distancing is working, how our modified operations are helping to keep employees and our patrons safe while they engage in this recreational activity. And we welcome everybody into our park system and ask that you please, I echo exactly what the city manager and what the deputy city manager have said. We ask that you please take precautions and do the things that will help keep you safe and help keep our employees safe, which includes social distancing, wearing masks when appropriate, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer, and being courteous and respectful to all the people who want to enjoy the park system. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague and friend, Mr. Roosevelt Weeks, who is the director of the library system.
Thank you, Kimberly. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roosevelt Weeks. I'm the proud director of the Austin Public Library. We are so excited to go to our next phase, and hopefully during the current phase that we did, that you've enjoyed our virtual catalog services, our ebooks, planning for programming online. And we're just so proud of the fact that so many of you have joined us by getting new library cards or renewing your library cards. So thank you for doing that. Now we headed to our second phase, and that will start on January the 1st, June the 1st, where we will start opening our book drops at every one of our locations. We have over 200,000 items that are out right now, and what we're encouraging everyone to do is to go ahead and start bringing those books back on June the 1st, and at that time, that will be facilities where they can remove those items, quarantine those items for 72 hours. And then following that, we'll go into our next phase, which is our curbside service. We know that everyone don't read ebooks or like read books. They like to have the book in their hand and feel the books. And so we're going to offer our curbside services where we can offer those physical materials to our customers. And so starting on June the 8th, we will have our curbside services at 10 of our locations. And those locations will be at our Central Library, Manchac, Louise, Southeast, Carver, Windsor Park, University Hill, North Village, Spicewood Springs, and Millwood. And at that time, we will make sure that provide instructions on our website for you to be able to go ahead and put those items on hold and how you can go about getting those materials to you. We will make sure that the employee is safe during this time. They will have their protective gear on. We are asking that when we start our service that you stay in your vehicles while we do that, and we'll make sure that we get those items to you. But all these instructions and FAQs are on our website. They will be posted today for you to use. With that, we look forward to serving you in a more expanded way in the future. And we'll base all of this on health authority information that they give us. So stay tuned for additional service that we plan on offering, but we hope that you've enjoyed our virtual services and hope that you will take advantage of our curbside service that's coming up on June the 8th. With that, I turn it over to my colleague and friend, Don Bland, Animal Services.
Thank you, Roosevelt. Good morning, folks. I'm Don Bland, Chief of Animal Services. I just want to start by saying thank you to all the citizens that have helped us since we've closed to the public. We have continued to take in injured, sick animals that actually needed us to the tune of over 950. During that time, though, we have sent 763 animals to foster. Those foster families, those citizens that have stepped up have truly been amazing and helped us. And what's really exciting is of that 760 animals in foster, they have adopted over 400 out of foster. Animals that have not done well here in the shelter have thrived in our foster care. A few weeks ago, we opened up our curbside adoptions, and it was been going very successful. Starting on June 1st, we will open up adoptions here at the center. The guidelines are on our website. You'll fill out the form, you'll get a call back with your appointment time, and you will have to have your temperature checked and wear a face mask and do social distancing when you come in. We'll start with 2 adopters per hour and only 2 family members. Since we've taken over 950 animals in, our inventory here at the shelter has started to grow, and we need to help some of these animals find homes. So with that, we hope that we can find some homes and get some animals out of here and do it very safely, because we do want to protect our staff and the public. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our colleague, Mr. Daniel Ward.
Thank you, Don. The Austin Code Department's looking forward to opening more of our services up to the community in a manner that keeps everyone safe. While we are still establishing seating arrangements and visitation procedures that will provide for proper social distancing at our facility, we still strongly encourage the community to utilize online services whenever possible. While we are all transitioning to opening our community again, the safest place to be is still your home whenever possible. Our cashier office will open starting June 1st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. 2 weeks later, on June 15th, our licensing and registration office will be available on site as well. This includes services such as private waste hauler licenses, short-term rental licenses, hotel and motel registrations, bed and breakfast, billboards, mobile home park registration, and boat dock registration. We will begin utilizing our administrative hearing processes again starting in July. Customers will receive a minimum notice of 10 days in advance of any scheduled hearing, and we will have staff on site to be available to ensure proper safety precautions are taken in the waiting room, during the intake process, and to effectively manage the volume of customers in our facility. Thank you.
And I think I was going to just say a few closing remarks before we open it up to questions, and really just emphasizing my appreciation for all of our city employees for their hard work over the last several months as we've adjusted and adapted to this pandemic. This is the first time our community has experienced a public health crisis of this magnitude spanning this length of time. And as we begin to reopen, just a reminder to please be good to one another, practice good social distancing, hygiene, and remember to wear a face covering. With that, I'll turn it over to Nuria for some closing remarks as well.
So thank you, Manager, and I echo your commitment to do that. I also want to recognize that when I came to the city, and I've been joking around that I've now been in the city of Austin under COVID more than I have been regularly. But one of the things that brought me to the city was the fact that Austin has such a bright Latin community, and that personally just attracted me here. So if you indulge me for a minute, I just want to address my community in Spanish, if you would, for just a second. But a nuestra comunidad latina, yo llevo pocos meses aquí en Austin, y como mencioné en inglés, la realidad es que una de las cosas que me atrajo aquí es que tiene una diversidad y que me siento mucho más cerca a mi gente aquí en Austin. Ahora, sé que el virus nos está impactando más que lo que son otras comunidades y me apena muchísimo y me frustra el ver que no estamos dando mensajes, que no estamos enviando mensajes más allá de lo que ya la ciudad ha hecho. Y la ciudad ha hecho mucho. 5 anuncios públicos en video, en el internet, mucha información a comunidades y a negocios. Pero con todo eso sé que debemos que fortalecernos y trabajar más fuerte para que nuestros mensajes les lleguen a ustedes. Mi compromiso a ustedes en mi nueva comunidad adoptada es aumentar esos mensajes por escrito, por la radio, por video y en persona, para que todos tengamos la información que necesitamos para mantenernos a nosotros y nuestros seres queridos seguros y saludables. Muchísimas gracias por todo lo que hacen. Thank you for that.
Thank you, City Manager and Deputy City Manager and all of our speakers. I will now pass it over to our pool reporter who will begin the Q&A section of our press conference.
Good morning, everyone. This is Karime Hernandez representing Univision. I'm going to start off with the first question. It's going to be in Spanish and it will go to Ms. Rivera. Ahora que regresan a sus lugares de trabajo, muchos hispanos se preguntarán qué pasará si dan positivo al coronavirus, ya que hay algunos negocios que no pagarían estas semanas fuera de labores y se podrían quedar sin dinero. ¿Se está contemplando la posibilidad de utilizar algunos fondos para ayudar a estas personas, fondos de la ciudad?
Muchísimas gracias por la pregunta. La realidad es que sabemos que esto nos está impactando. Nosotros en la ciudad estamos actualmente hablando de cómo nosotros podemos ayudar a los negocios, a las personas individuales, precisamente porque sabemos que hay condiciones como estas. Les exhortamos a nuestros negocios a que continúen apoyando a sus empleados, que se manifiesten y que hagan todo lo posible para ofrecer lo que puedan en términos de ya sean por ofrecerles tiempo por enfermedad o de continuar esos empleos. Pero sabemos que nosotros en la ciudad sí estamos viendo a ver de qué forma podemos ayudar ya sean a las personas directamente o francamente a negocios que puedan propiciar días por enfermedad más allá de lo que están haciendo.
Do you want to answer this question in Spanish, in English as well?
Sure. The question was really in terms of, and I forgot if you said it in English first, but there are a lot of employees now that we're reopening. What is happening with employees who are going to have to go back to work and may not have sick days or the ability to stay at home? And has the city been contemplating helping folks? And so my quick answer was that yes, that we understand that we are all, as we're reopening, considering what does that look like, and the city is looking at that very seriously. We're in the midst of conversations with ourselves and with our council about how do we provide assistance, and some of that assistance is direct, and some of that assistance is to businesses to make sure, as so many are doing, the right thing about providing sick leave to their employees and ensuring their continued employment, and seeing how we can continue to exhort more and more people to do that, to make sure that our employees are able to stay home when they're sick and not have to choose between work and being sick, and that those employees will be able to continue to working for businesses that will remain open throughout this pandemic.
Thank you. Next question is from KXAN. We've seen pictures, videos of people crammed into places like Barking Springs. Meanwhile, Barton Springs Pool is closed and still doesn't have a date to reopen. Do you think pools being closed is contributing to so many people cramming into the parks and places that are actually open? And will it help with social distancing as we reopen pools?
So this is Kimberly McNeely, Director for the Parks and Recreation Department, and I believe that in opening additional amenities within the park system and providing individuals with safe access to different sorts of amenities will allow people to have additional opportunities. I would also say to you that our partners in the state park system and our partners in the county park system are also beginning to reopen parts of their park system, which allows for additional opportunities and different choices for individuals to make, which will allow additional space for people to spread out. So by way of example, the Parks and Recreation Department plans on being able to make available amenities like neighborhood tennis courts, neighborhood basketball courts, volleyball courts. We plan on making available in a very modified operation at the Zilker Botanical Garden an opportunity for people to enjoy that space. We provided for via a memo, and we will be providing on our website the reopening of swimming pools over a certain amount of time. And it's important to note that swimming pools require certified lifeguards, and so we have to ensure that we have enough personnel to provide a safe environment in order to open up an amenity like a swimming pool. But we also understand how important in a state like Texas, where it's hot a lot of the summertime, that pools are certainly a very desirable amenity to attend to. And I do think you make a really important point. By opening up swimming pools and giving people additional options by which to cool off and to be in the water, we're now providing a safe environment where we can monitor social distancing, where we can control capacity, and where we can actually provide an environment where individuals are guarded. And so we're hoping that folks will make choices to go to their neighborhood pools and take advantage of that opportunity to be safe and cool off at the same time.
Ms. McNeely, I would like to ask a follow-up question in reference to the pools. We know that earlier in the season, you were expecting to hire 750 lifeguards, and we saw that recently that it was way under that number. What's your status on the lifeguards?
So we have approximately 200 lifeguards that are ready to work, and those 200 lifeguards will be used to open up a number of swimming pools throughout our entire Austin system. We've used an equity lens to ensure that we have an opportunity to make sure everybody throughout our entire park system has an opportunity to access pools. And we have a modified training schedule that we are trying to implement to be able to help individuals become certified so we can get some more lifeguards on board. And when I say modified, that means that we're doing a lot of online training for those types of skills that can be readily learned online. And then we're limiting the amount of time and the amount of opportunity for people to be in a single space. But I will remind everyone that lifeguarding is a hands-on activity. And so we're making sure that we're very measured and we're very careful in how we're operating our lifeguarding classes to ensure employee safety and the safety of the entire community. So we're working to certify more lifeguards, but it's going to take some time.
Great. Next question is from CBS Austin. How does the city plan on enforcing capacity and social distancing measures in public facilities? Is that for staff to enforce? If so, are they receiving appropriate training?
I'll start off with this and then maybe pass it over to our deputy city manager for any follow-up or answers that I may forget. But in short, we are not going to be able to enforce our way out of this. And so we really want to make sure that we're emphasizing the education and the communication about how we as a community will keep ourselves safe and hold ourselves accountable. But within each city facility, we will have established guidelines. Those will be clearly posted. So each facility manager will be making those recommendations on how they're going to enforce those within each facility, depending on the services that they provide. With that, I'll pass it over to Nuri if you want to add anything.
The only thing I'd add is I think, and you've made the point that what we really need is that everybody cooperates, right? That focusing on education and outreach and letting people know the impact of not complying with social distancing, what that does to our community. We've seen really great compliance just by our education and our awareness campaign alone, how much the city is really trying to keep each other safe. And so we'll really sort of call on businesses and community and individuals to make sure that we are doing all that we can to keep our numbers low and protect Austin as best we can.
Great. We're going to go on to K-View's question. Can city employees continue working from home if they don't feel comfortable returning to the workplace?
So I'll take that one, Spencer, if you don't mind. So I'll say that the question has come up, and we've been fortunate that many of our staff and our employees are actually eager and have been working from home and continue to be eager to work. So we're really proud of this pride and sense of public service that our employees have continued to show. We have had some employees that have felt concerns about the workplace. Some of them have immunocompromised families at home and are concerned about what that looks like. And so we've been able to redirect them and allow them to continue to stay at home where possible. So we are being really sensitive to those needs. We are taking many precautions as we continue to reintegrate into the workplace to provide barriers to make sure for social distancing, to provide opportunities for other telework options. But we have been really excited to see how many people have embraced telework. We have over 6,000 people that are currently teleworking right now. And we have been very successful. Productivity has been up. So I think we'll be able to work with employees that feel any concerns.
Great. We're going to go on to the American Statesman's question now. How much of a strain is the Austin Animal Center under? How many animals are there that need to be adopted? And what is the capacity of the center? Is there a shortage of food supplies? Has COVID-19 affected live release rates?
Well, I can tell you that we have continued to take animals in that have been sick and injured. And this morning, our inventory was 557. 174 of those were at the shelter, and 371 of those were in foster care. We have grown over the past 6 weeks. Our inventory numbers was at the shelter was down to about 60 about 6 weeks ago. So more and more as the world starts to open back up, more and more people are finding sick, injured, or animals that need our services. And so our inventory has grown. So we do need folks to step up and continue to foster for us and foster until those animals get adopted. That's the best ideal situation. We have continued to take care of the animals here on site. And so our food sources, everything has been working like clockwork. Our employees have been very good at social distancing. We have several that are teleworking in the non-animal care areas. And we continue to take care of those animals and do a great job with the ones that are here. They're getting a lot of extra attention. But as we start to grow our numbers, we do need to start finding a way to exit those. Our live exit rates have maintained over 90% while we've been closed.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the Austin Chronicle. How does the city anticipate moving forward with allowing events, not ACL, not at that scale, in parks, libraries, theaters, and other places?
I can start and then certainly pass it off to our parks and library director. But again, we are really going to lean on our great experts at our health departments for guidance as we've been guiding the entire community. So as we learn more about additional measures that could be taken, including having larger gatherings, we will make sure that we are complying with those guidance and measures that we're getting from our health department. So there's no plans to have those large gatherings. We're still at level 3, if you will. And so we will slowly ease into this new reality and provide services, one day, 1 week at a time as we continue to measure our progress on this pandemic. But with that, I'll turn it over to Roosevelt or maybe Kimberly to start and then to Roosevelt.
Yes, so the Parks and Recreation Department works collaboratively with the City of Austin Event Center or Events Collaborative. We also work with the Austin Public Health Department. And right now we are all analyzing best practices, researching different ideas as to how to safely integrate events back into the park system and frankly back into the entire city. And so we, as the city manager has said, we are really in the very beginning stages of researching and analyzing data to make sure that when we do decide the appropriate number of events or the appropriate number of people to attend an event, that it is something that our city can have confidence in. And it's done as a collaborative effort. So the Parks and Recreation Department will not be coming out in front of anything that our health department does not provide guidance on. So we're still waiting, we're still researching, and we're still analyzing.
Great. Next question, Community Impact Newspaper. You said you have roughly 6,000 city employees teleworking right now. Can you provide a projection of how much that number will grow?
I don't necessarily know that it will grow as we are planning to bring employees back into the workplace, but I will say this, is that we have learned that many of our employees have really enjoyed working from home. And so what I anticipate is that we will actually have a growth of those requesting as we think about how COVID has impacted city operations. And I think about what the next stage of how we operate as government looks like. I will say that I anticipate having more people teleworking and really enjoying the flexibility to work from home in the future. And so we are not just looking at reintegration now and adjusting our policies for the immediate response to the pandemic, but departments have also been thinking long term, what are the steps that they need to do to allow for more teleworking in the future? It has been a revelation, I think, to all of us in the city, how much people have embraced and how productivity has really increased as people have found themselves in this new normal of working from home.
Great, we're gonna move on to the next question. For the Parks Department, why are the splash pads still closed since they don't need a lifeguard? Also, a certification adult and youth sports leagues are allowed to start practicing this Sunday, but many people on city sports fields. Would the city allow these organizations to play? That question is from KXAN.
Okay, so first, splash pads are part of a group of amenities that the governor just recently, as a part of the state of Texas, just recently provided some guidance. So splash pads are in the same realm as playgrounds and the same realm as water parks. And so you can imagine that there are many, many touch points at a splash pad. So the decision about splash pads is not about the number of lifeguards. The decision about splash pads is really about public health and safety. And can we ensure when little ones are playing there, or when children are playing there, can we keep that a safe environment? And so we've decided that at this point in time, we're not prepared to open playgrounds. We're not prepared to open splash pads, but we'll continue to analyze the data and make some decisions based upon what our local characteristics are telling us. With regards to the youth sports, the governor, of course, you saw the governor's guidelines, and he gave some very specific guidelines about social distancing and outdoor sports. And so we're asking any entity that is going to be hosting youth sport practices or youth sports activities or outdoor physical activities that they are complying with the guidelines and the recommendations for social distancing and for uses of equipment and cleaning equipment and sanitation. And we'll be monitoring that with our partners to make sure that we're providing the safest environment possible. Being outdoors allows for social distancing to really be something that you can comply with, where people can spread out and be able to have some physical activity and still be an appropriate social distance from one another. So we'll just keep monitoring that situation. And as we've said before, if we see that there are some characteristics that are happening that are negative and we don't feel comfortable with the way that things are happening, then we can always pull back and provide additional guidelines.
Next question. When it comes to city facilities like pools and libraries, is there a return to children's programming like swim lessons or story time? Since there are a dearth of options for Austin children this summer, how does the city approach children unattended by adults in public facilities?
This is Roosevelt Weeks with the Austin Public Library. We take the health of our customers and our very seriously, and still how we can reintegrate our story times into our physical space. We're relying heavily upon our health department to be able to tell us how the best way to do that. And so we hope that during the summer that you can enjoy our virtual story time that we're providing. But we're still a ways off from providing in-house story time for our customers.
Okay, this is our last question, and it's from the American Statesman. While the city does not have the authority to enforce mask wearing and social distancing with criminal or civil penalties, do city departments have the authority to enforce such policies inside their buildings, like libraries or offices, as private companies can?
I'm going to let our code department handle that. But again, we really are emphasizing the accountability that we have for each other. We really want people to adhere to the guidelines that the CDC and our health authorities are recommending, the governor is recommending. And so we really want to make sure that everyone is wearing facial coverings. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Ward?
I just want to reiterate your statement that our goal is to provide services to our citizens in the capacity we're capable of doing. At the same time, we want to make sure we're ensuring everyone's safety, both city employees and citizens utilizing those services. So we would still highly encourage use of facial coverings, utilize online services whenever possible. But we'll, each facility manager will have to balance the needs of the service they provide while still ensuring there's protections in place for everybody at that facility.
I'll just say a few closing remarks and really want to thank everyone for their engagement in our Austin community, for being measured and thoughtful about this reintegration program. This is very thoughtful and measured, and we want to make sure that we are taking one step at a time. As you heard from each of our programmatic areas, nothing is dramatically shifting overnight. This will be a really thoughtful, phased-in approach to how we reintegrate our city services. But we recognize people do want to start to engage in different ways with our community. And so we're going to do that in the most safe and measured way so we can all keep each other healthy. Again, thank you all very much.
If anyone else has anything they would like to add, now would be the time. If not, I will close it for today. That concludes today's press conference.
Will Dupree here in the KXAN Live studio. You've just heard a virtual press conference end with several different officials from the city of Austin. They're talking about reopening offices run by the city, as well as modifying certain services provided by those different offices. We have some information to be able to share if you missed it and those comments went by a little bit earlier, so you can go back and watch this live stream if you did want to go into more detail, but we'll recap kind of what they said. So some of the heads of the different departments spoke, including Parks and Recreation, Libraries, Animal Services, and the Code Department. We will share that the Parks and Recreation Department is reopening some pools. I'm going to pull up these dates really quickly. So again, we have no current date to reopen Barton Springs or Deep Eddy pools. We'll keep asking about that. They are not going to be reopening at this point, so we just want to highlight at the top. Additionally, these pools will reopen on the following dates. On June 1st, Go Valley, Rosewood, and Shipe will reopen. On June 2nd, Big Stacy Pool. On June 5th, Mabel Davis, Northwest, and Walnut Creek. On June 6th, Bartholomew and Garrison. Once again, no current date to reopen Barton Springs or Deep Eddy at this time. The Parks and Recreation Director also said that they are going to be monitoring conditions at parks to be able to shut them down if need be in case they get too crowded or things like that. So we'll, of course, pass along those details if they are announced. Moving on to libraries, the director of that particular department said that on June 1st, book drops will open at locations, and any item that will be returned during that time, be it a book or a movie or any other kind of material, will be quarantined for 72 hours and cleaned before it's able to be utilized by people here in the community. On June 8th, the libraries will launch a curbside service at just 10 locations, and we'll be able to specify those over on our website, kxan.com, and on the KXAN News app. You can take a look at this story there. Moving on now to Animal Services, the director there said that curbside adoptions will begin, and June 1st, the adoptions will begin at the center. However, there are quite a few stipulations for anybody that would like to adopt a cat or a dog or another animal from the city's animal services. So on June 1st, you'll need to make an appointment. You'll have to have your temperature checked, wear a face mask, and practice physical distancing once inside the facility. 2 adopters are allowed per hour, and within those different 2 groups, you can only have 2 members of a family at a time as well. Finally, the Code Department announced that the Code Department's cashier office will open on June 1st. On June 15th, the Licensing and Registration Office will reopen. And then in July, at some point, administrative hearings will begin again. No specific date given there just yet. So we are working to compile all of that information on our website, kxan.com, and the KXAN News app. We're going to plug those both again so that you can follow along and read a little bit more in depth about what was just announced here. Once again, the City of Austin is going to be reopening some city offices and modifying some of the services provided by those. We'll have full details on our website. Once again, thank you for watching. I'm Will Dupree, and we'll see you back here another time.